Hey, what's up everyone? Today we are diving into some awesome animation magic in KeyShot using the Displacement tool. Buckle up and let's get started. Alright, first things first, I'm picking out the material I'm gonna use. To do that, I jump into the material graph and switch to dielectric instead of glass. Why, you ask? Well, dielectric gives you a way more control than glass ever could. I pick a color for this material and tweak the dispersion settings a bit. But spoiler alert, dispersion won't play nice with the roughness map, so we will have to ditch it later. I also tweaked the refractive index to nail down a more accurate look. The dispersion setting simulates color refraction in glass-like materials. As this value increases, the refraction effect will decrease. Next up, I'm slapping on a roughness map texture that I downloaded earlier. I preview it to make sure everything's looking good. And once I'm happy, I adjust the mapping type to Clinder and tweak the size. Now I dial in the brightness and link up the roughness map with the material. Okay, so we have got a bit of a fuzzy looking going on, and I want to tighten that up. I lower the brightness a tad and crank up the contrast. Now let's give this glass some texture. I throw on a noise texture for the bump, preview it, and make some adjustments. Once it's looking solid, I connect it to the bump channel and fine tune the bump side. Now let's take it up a notch by adding another bump map. I click on the line connecting the noise texture to the bump and select Bump Add. I toss in a brush texture, preview it by hitting the C key and make a few more tweaks. After all that, I link up the brush texture with the second bump map added. Zooming in, I check out these bump details, making some final tweaks until everything's looking just right. Now for the fun part. I'm adding a rotation animation to the glass. As you can see, it's spinning a bit too much, so I tweak the axis and dial down the degree to get the perfect spin. I also adjust the animation timing to keep things smooth. And there you have it. Our main material is ready. Next, I'm adding the material that will give our eyes that cool, frosty look. I pick transparent plastic and slap it into the label section of our material. Adjusting the color here, and here is a quick tip. When working with transparent plastic, you can tweak the material's opacity by adjusting the diffuse and diffuse transmission. This only works with transparent plastic, so keep that in mind. I play around with the values until I get that icy vibe. Then choose a color gradient as the texture for the transition. Quick confession guys, I made a little oopsie while recording and changed the color direction on the gradient map. Totally unnecessary. You can just use the Gumball tool to change the gradient's direction instead. To sum it up, we are using the gradient map as an opacity map. The black areas will hide our ice material, while the white areas will reveal it. With the shift tool, you can adjust where this transition happens, and we will use this later with an animation node to create a smooth transition. Alright, let's connect the map to opacity and add an animation node, specifically the curve fade. I drag it onto the color gradient and choose shift. First, I set up the timing for the animation node, then adjust the values. As you can see, it's moving in the opposite direction, so I lower the end value and test the transition again. You will have to fiddle with this to get it just right. Now I'm adding a color composite to the opacity map to mix in some textures. In the material graph, I select a noise fractal texture, preview it, and make some adjustments. This texture will be key to our ice transition. Here I tweak the values to get a more realistic look, then add this noise texture to the background. I select color composite, this time to adjust the blend mode. By playing around with the blend mode, I can blend two textures together. And after some trial and error, I found that overlay gives me that look I want. Now my opacity map is moving with the texture. A few final tweaks and the transition looks awesome. Now for the moment you have all been waiting for. I am adding the displacement node and of course a fresh new texture. Displacement is going to give us that 3D ice texture we are after. I adjust the texture size and zoom in for a closer look, of course. Once I'm happy with the setup, I connect the texture to displacement and displacement to geometry. I set the displacement height to 1 mm here and reduce the triangle size for better surface quality. Ready to go? I hit execute and wow, this 3D texture is looking amazing. Maybe I will add a bit more height to the displacement. Yeah, that's perfect. We are almost done. Just one more step. Let's add a transition animation to the displacement too. Firstly, I add another color composite to the displacement texture, then copy the previous color gradient map with the Alt key and connect it to the background. I choose multiply blend mode this time, and I add my animation node to this color gradient texture too. Time to test that transition. With the animation node, we now have a smooth transition on the displacement map too. And that's it, guys. That's how you create an icy animation with a slick transition in KeyShot. Thanks for hanging out with me, and if you give this a try, tag me. I would love to see what you create. Until next time, see you.